Today, I'm going to dig into the freelance surface pattern design life. I have been freelancing for art for products for 11 years now, and I've done a lot of different types of art. I've done stamps, greeting cards for freelance, gift bags, apparel, dinnerware, socks, all different types of things. In today's video, I want to cover some common misconceptions that I definitely had when I started freelancing, things that I thought were going to be true about being a freelance surface designer. And I want to show you a behind the scenes of a typical day in my life as a freelance designer. First off, let's start with a definition of freelance work. You may be wondering what exactly I mean when I say freelance work. If I just mean that I'm creating art independently and don't work for a company, or what exactly does that mean? So freelance work is also sometimes called work for hire. It can also be called commission work. And it essentially means that a company is paying me to create art to their specifications. So they usually provide me with a theme, an idea, a color palette, a style that they're looking for. Not all the time, but often they have something very specific in mind, and I'm creating artwork towards that idea. Depending on contract, usually the company who is commissioning this work, who has hired you as a freelancer, owns the copyright to the artwork that you create, and you are paid for your services upon completion of that artwork. So I work for a lot of different companies in the background, and it is different from art licensing, because art licensing is where I create the work I want to, and then companies come to me and say, hey, we like that, can we use it on our products? And we go from there. So this is where someone comes to me and says, we need a gift bag that's exactly this size, whatever, 8 by 10, and it's gonna be an ornament. I want it to say ready to jingle. You need this specific green and this specific red, and what can you do with that information? What can you create? So I wanna put to rest a few common freelance misconceptions. Maybe you don't have these misconceptions, but I know I had some of them, and I've definitely heard some of them floating around. So let's talk about it. The first is that freelance is perfect for a flexible schedule. All right, I know some people who might be working in-house, or people who are trying to get into the surface pattern industry might be interested in freelance because of the flexible schedule it gives you. This one is like a yes and a no, right? Yes, it does give me some amount of a flexible schedule, for sure. Like I'm so grateful for the flexibility that I have. I am able to pick up my kids if I need to, if someone's sick. There is some flexibility there for sure. But I will warn you that freelance often requires some really tight turnarounds, and especially as you're getting started in your career and you're more likely to, want to do the work and get the money immediately and agree to what clients are setting in front of you. You're often going to find yourself with some really quick turnarounds. It's not always just create this design and call me in 3 weeks when it's done. It can be like, we need it tomorrow, we need it the next day. And that means that you might not have that type of flexibility that you're looking for, because you might be nose to the grindstone, drawing and working and creating in order to hit those deadlines. Now, this is something that comes as you build your career. You can obviously start to build in boundaries and say no to those type of jobs, but they are very regular, and it's definitely an opportunity. So knowing that might be a part of it should be something you should be aware of. The second misconception that I think people have is that you're going to be getting into something where you are getting to use your artistic skills, you're getting into pattern design, and it's going to be purely creative all day long. This was something that I had to learn, and it took me a while to figure it out, that I was running a whole ass business. Like I am running one. I continue to run one. I'm not just creating artwork and hooking up with a few different clients and then we're good. Like I have to do the admin, I have to do the billing, I have to do the marketing, I have to do the outreach. Like you are doing a whole business and you're wearing all the hats. So there's certainly a lot of time that's not creative. And even when you are actually doing the artwork for clients, as I said before, as I hinted at before, a lot of the time they're coming to you with their specifications and what they're looking to see. So you don't always have the creative control that you might want, because they might give you a palette that you don't love, or they might give you some artwork to start with that they want you to base it on, or they want you to use and reconfigure artwork that they already own that they want to use in a different way, or they want you to create coordinates for. And in that way, you may not have the creative freedom that you're looking for. The next misconception is one that I was super guilty of, and that is I'm going to find a few clients and then freelancing is going to be smooth sailing. I really thought that it was going to be easy. I said to myself, like, instead of having one job, because I remember I was working in-house in New York City, instead of having one job, I'll have like 3. I was like, I'm going to find 3 like reasonable clients and I'm going to do work for them and we're good. No. There are a lot of ups and downs with freelance. The good news about working in surface design is there tends to be a lot of repeat clients. And if you watched my last video about niching down, which you should definitely check out, you know that the benefit of that can be client loyalty, right? So they can come back to you. If you do good work, they're going to come back to you for more work and more work because there's always new products that need designing. But things change, things shift, budgets change, clients, go in and out of business. If you have small business clients, things change. And so finding 3 really steady, really huge clients is aspirational, and it doesn't always work. And even when you have a really good one, that can last for a few years and then peter out. And that has happened to me multiple times. With clients that I've worked with for 2 or 3 years, and they were like big chunks of my income, and then slowly didn't, heard less from them, or, in one case they switched to all in-house work and they stopped contracting with me. There are just situations where you're needed less and less. And so you do have to continually be looking for new opportunities and accepting opportunities that come to you. All right, next freelance misconception. Your art is on products, yay! So I feel like all these misconceptions are basically like, don't do this. I hope you're not like running away. Maybe at the end we'll talk about some pros. I don't know. Do you need some pros? There are good things about freelance. I wouldn't be doing it for 11 years if there weren't great things about freelance, namely getting paid and having an art director. It can be really great to have an art director and someone just give you the stuff to do rather than always having to think of your own ideas. So I really like that. But your art is on products, yay! That can be a misconception because it's a yes and a no thing, right? This is a little column A and B. It depends on your clients, right? Sometimes everything you design is going, for some clients, everything you design is going to be in stores or is going to be available online. If you have small clients and you're their like sole designer, then yes, they need you to create the work that is then going to get onto their products. But sometimes you work with bigger clients, and those clients, those bigger corporations, they have to get their work approved by all the various levels. They have to get their work approved by the retailers who are going to sell the artwork. So things get changed, things get rearranged, things get recolored, things get dropped. There are lots of things that I design that never make it, never see the light of day. And the truth is, they may come out in another situation. Something I might design for Christmas, following Christmas, I might look for it at Christmas time and not find it. But maybe 2 years later, it shows up. Sometimes that happens. It gets dropped for 1 year and they keep it on file, and then it comes back in another way, recolored in a different format, things like that. So it's not always a guarantee that your work is going to show up in stores or show up on products. The good news is you got paid either way. That's the pro of freelance. Whether or not it makes it to stores, you are getting paid because you were paid for the artwork you were creating. All right, next misconception. You're selling your copyrights and that's a bad thing. All right. I think this is something that really trips people up because when we talk about art licensing, you're keeping your copyrights. You could have that art forever. You could sell it 1,000,000 times. It's yours forever to do with whatever you want. Okay, well, that's cool. But the reality is I have 110 licensing collections that I've created over the last 8 or 9 years, 10 years licensing. I've been licensing for 10 years. All right. So I have 110 collections. For this video, I did some research, guys. I looked for collections that not even a single piece had ever been licensed from. So no interest, no contracts, nothing has ever come of it. You want to know how many? Are you going to get depressed? I swear. Is this a depressing video? I hope not. All right. About 70. Okay. 70 collections, which means multiple prints, 3, 4, 5, 6 prints or illustrations. I try to stick with mini collections these days, but back in the day, I used to do 6 prints or 6, 2 illustrations and 4 patterns or whatever. All of that work. 70 of them never been licensed. Now, if a freelance client came along and took a look at my portfolio and said, hey, we'd like to buy your copyrights on 40 of those collections, ask me. I would love to make money for them because right now they're not making any money. So for freelance work, yes, there are sometimes times when I make something so cool and I'm like, dang, I wish I still had that. Not that often. They're giving me their direction. I don't even really feel like it's my own pure creativity. You know what I mean? It's something I've created something nice from their ideas or their palette. And so I got paid for that. I'm cool with that. So it is not always a bad thing to be giving up your copyright. Coming up after this, we're going to take a look at my typical day. And for those of you who haven't been totally turned off by all these misconceptions, I swear there are good things. Remember the part about getting paid, okay? So tell me in the comments first, anything that surprised you here? Are there other notions that you have that you want me to address in a future video? Let me know, hit like, and we will dive into my typical day. Let's take a look at my typical freelance workday. I get most of my work from clients that I've already worked with. I sometimes get inquiries from new clients and work them into the rotation, and that's really wonderful. But I've had clients for a long time who I continue to work on projects with. And so that's where a lot of my design work comes from in the day-to-day. So what will usually happen is my clients will send me an email and ask me about my availability to work on a project. And if I am available, if I don't have too much going on, I am excited to work with my clients and I agree to the project. Obviously, I check in and ask about deadlines so that I can match it up with my calendar. And, if it's a tight turnaround, I might ask if there's any flexibility there. For older clients, I have standing contracts, so we don't need to sign new paperwork most of the time. I do have a few clients who are just occasional clients and they kind of want to know how much a project might cost, so I might do an estimate for them. But a lot of my clients are ones that are They sort of know the drill. They know how long things are approximately going to cost. And so we really just move forward with creative briefs. So once I agree to the project, they send through assets and a creative brief. So this will be describing what the project is, what they need, any templates or fonts that I might need to create the design if I don't already have them, any information about how the product is going to be printed or manufactured, or palettes that I might need, any swatches I might need, basically anything I need for a project. My next step is to start in on sketches. And I like to do this step on my iPad. I like to get away from my computer when I can. So I'll move myself to the couch and I will get to sketching out layouts based on their creative briefs, motifs and layouts. Now, sometimes I only do the sketching on my iPad and then I come back to my computer to draw the motifs in Illustrator. Sometimes I do the sketches and then I start to draw the motifs themselves on the iPad just to keep away from my computer for as long as possible before I bring them into Illustrator and Auto Trace. Right now, you're probably asking yourself, do I need to know Adobe Illustrator to be able to freelance? I get this question all the time. I have a video about that question, so go check that out for the answer, okay? And if you're curious about how I do creative work on my iPad and then bring it into Adobe Illustrator, I have a video about that as well where I show my Procreate to Illustrator process. So definitely check out those two videos if you've got those questions. So once I get through the sketching phase, not all of this happens in the same day. I can stretch things out for sure. Might do the sketching one day and then the design work on Illustrator the next day, or depending on the deadline, it might be a few days apart. I don't always show my sketches to my client. If I'm not totally sure what they're looking for, I might show them my sketches, but because I've been working with these clients for a while, I might not run it by them. It really depends on the client. Then I move to the computer and I work on the first draft and put together the best that I can do as a first draft, taking my sketches and anything I might have created on the iPad. And once I've created a first draft that I'm happy with, I send that through to my client and get any feedback that they might have on it. And then I make revisions and finish up the project and send through final files to them. So that is sort of the life cycle of a project I might do for a freelance client. Sometimes this can happen over the course of a week. Sometimes it can be 2 weeks. Sometimes it can be 3 days. Sometimes clients will come to me with like 5 designs they need. And so it might be 2 weeks and I'm doing 5 designs over 2 weeks. So I might sketch out 3 or 4 briefs at a time and then bring it to the computer and get the first 2 or 3 drafts done, show them where I'm at, go back for those last 2 designs. It just really depends. I just have to manage my time and energy to make sure that I have time to create the work that they need from me. All right, those are some typical misconceptions that I definitely had. Be sure to comment if you have others, and a look at my typical day as a surface pattern design freelancer. In the coming weeks, I'm going to release a video about some of my top freelancing tips. But in the meantime, if you're already interested, despite some of the sort of downsides of freelance, if you're interested, I have something that can help you find freelance work. Have you checked out my Ready for Surface Pattern Clients workshop? This is an awesome workshop that I offer about 4 or 5 times a year. Definitely check out the link in bio. I don't know what you're waiting for. In it, we assess if your art is ready for client work. I go into some of my time-tested tips for finding freelance work. So definitely check that out. Register for next session.